I had a really good life, and I loved, and I wasn't really open to change until a disease hit and took that life away. Spent over a year going to doctors, B-cell eating autoimmune virus, and they basically all said the same thing, that there's no hope for that. There's nothing you can do. It was so debilitating, I was spending about 23 hours a day in bed, maybe getting up maybe half an hour twice a day. And those half an hours weren't very much fun. I had to close my practice, consulting practice, and everything about my life that I loved just started to unravel and fall apart. And after about a year, I decided I was going to end my life. About 20 people holding a vigil in a hospital overnight. And whatever is out there in the universe, all collaborating against that idea, and I lived. And I decided I was going to find a way to live. And I went back through my life, like where can I learn? Nobody has anything for me. Is there anybody that's ever faced something like that before? And I remembered this guy, Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I went online and looked him up. I'm like, whoa, he has videos. It's so cool. And so I started watching him. And if you ask me, like, what meditations did you do? I did all of them. Many, many times. Read books. And I kept following and practicing. And one day, if this was a transformative day, I realized I had been saying I'm not healed a lot. And I started changing my words. And I started becoming very conscious about any time I used the phrase I am, followed by anything else. And I started saying, I am healing. And I realized I didn't need to be healed. And I didn't need to kill this virus. What I was going to do was make it irrelevant. And just practice every day. The virus doesn't matter anymore. I'm moving to my new life, and I started out into the unknown and following, just going back to the videos, constantly changing. I also had to change my emotional state, and I decided to start with gratitude. Dr. Joe talked in a lot of those videos about gratitude being the emotion of receiving. And I had thought, during the time I was going to end my life, I had nothing to be grateful for. Why was I wrong? So much to be grateful for.
I want you to know, this is a chilling moment for all of us when it comes time to give thanks for something that has not happened yet. We're programmed, we're in a hypnosis. We are conditioned to believe that we need something outside of us to change how we feel inside of us. And when something happens favorably, the emotion that you feel is gratitude. You feel grateful for whatever it is that happened to you. And yet we're asking people then to find gratitude before they heal. And it's turning a battleship around. They have to really struggle to change in order to feel grateful. That's why so many people in their week-long events, they can't feel with their heart. They can feel with any other part of their body but their heart. And so it takes practice then to embrace gratitude. If you hear it theoretically, oh, that's really great, but you never practice it, then you're not in the place to receive a healing or to receive change or to receive anything. The body's so objective. It doesn't know the difference between the experience that's creating gratitude and the gratitude he's creating by thought alone. To the body, it's a relief from the past. Its energy is changing, its consciousness is changing, it's receiving different chemistry with different information, with different instructions, and it takes an act of conscious will to bring that up when you have no reason to be grateful, especially when you've lost your practice, you've lost your health, you've lost the relationships. It's so much easier to feel like a victim. It's just easier. And you got to find it. You got to find it, and you got to want it more than the lack of not having it. You got to want to feel it, and you want to practice it, because it makes you feel good when you do. But making the first step to switch from the victim to someone who's grateful, it's a riveting moment. We should all pay attention to this. You understand?
One of the parts of my personality before getting sick was I didn't like asking for help. I loved offering it, but I didn't like asking. I know I needed help every day. I needed help just to get up a flight of stairs. I needed help to just go to the grocery store. Last year, we set a stretch goal. My sweetie and I, Penny, who's probably a bigger Dr. Joe fan than I am even. We actually met around these kind of principles, and I'm grateful for that. And we set a stretch goal. Last year, we were going to hike the El Camino Trail, 500 miles in Spain. And I was going to backpack it, taking my backpack every day. And that's a long ways from not being able to climb a flight of stairs. And by the way, if you've never heard of that trail, it includes 2 mountain ranges. And I thought, before we do the El Camino, I want to see Dr. Joe. And last year, Nashville was my first event. Thank you. And this is my first advanced follow-up. And when I went to Nashville last year, it wasn't about being healed because I was already there. It was about saying thank you and getting to meet this amazing group. It wasn't you guys, it was different people. It was Nashville. But some of you were there. I recognize a few of you, yes. And I am fairly certain, I'm going to get the word fairly out of there, certainly this isn't our last. I'm grateful, Dr. Joe. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, I can't pass the opportunity. Who chose him? Who? He chose himself. No deity came through the clouds or on a lightning bolt or on a spaceship or a guide. Nobody but him. He chose himself. He chose himself every day. And it was within the realm of his acceptance. He was making the changes he could make. And the reasoning behind it led him further away from the belief that he couldn't heal. I don't know how many people at this point in this work where the doctor told them this condition is incurable, you'll never heal. I don't know how many times that you need to get chemo anyway. They don't show the tests to the patient. That's how much disbelief they have. It's such a critical moment when a doctor gives a patient a diagnosis and the person moves into a state of shock or fear. Don't you know that whatever they say after that is going to be imprinted in them? It takes so much effort to get beyond the voodoo curse. 6 months, 3 months, under a year. That lingers for a long time in a person's consciousness because they can accept that information, believe in it, surrender to it without analyzing because it's equal to the emotional state. That's branded in there, and they have to get beyond that moment in order to change. And it takes effort to do that, but nobody chose him. He chose himself every day.
I feel like I got my life back, and yet it's a different life. I used to have a life where I was maybe very judgmental for people, and I was recognizing that just in this advanced follow-up here. I was always so focused in my life, it was like other people were irrelevant. And I've had feedback since then that a lot of people felt that way around me, including people who I cared about and I loved. But that quality of life, I've got a fantastic lifestyle. I mean, financially, it's amazing. But I tell you what, I wouldn't trade. Some of that could go away, and I don't know that I'd miss it. But that quality of life of people, the caring, the collaboration, I'd never go back to the way it was before. No, absolutely not. This is an amazing way to live, total life experience, and I am grateful. Grateful. Thank you.